Hey guys, if you're a Toyota Tundra owner, or a Sequoia owner, or a Lexus owner who has the V35A engine in their truck and you live in the United States or in Canada, this video is for you if you're an owner who prioritizes longevity and durability of your truck over emissions and fuel economy. I found some very interesting data to support recommendations from Toyota, and I wanted to share that with you. So let's dive into it and take a look at what the data actually says about our trucks and our engines and how to protect them best. Okay, so I did a video where I was talking about owner's manuals from other countries for vehicles that have the V35A engine. And I shared a screenshot of the owner's manual from the LX600 in the United Arab Emirates in the Middle East and the Land Cruiser 300 in Thailand that share the same V35A engine. And both of those manuals supported recommended from Toyota, recommended 0w-20, 5w-20, 5w-30, and even 10w-30, depending on the temperature ranges that you're seeing. I got a lot of pushback from some comments, which was really good. A lot of good dialogue in the comments. And a lot of people questioned, well, hey, that's for hot climates. What about us in the northern United States or up in Canada, in Alaska? I mean, that doesn't support us using a thicker 30-weight oil, contradicting what our owner's manuals here in the United States say of only 0w-20 is allowed. And so I did some research and I found some really interesting things. So the Land Cruiser 300 is sold and run in Russia. And Russia is a very cold climate. It's very far north. It's actually in line, if you want to compare it to US and Canada, it's in line with like Juneau and Anchorage, Alaska. Okay, so way up there, north of Minnesota, north of Montana, up into Canada and Alaska type climates, which is extremely cold winters. And their owner's manuals for the Land Cruiser 300 with the V35A engine still recommends the same exact oil viscosities as the other manuals that I showed in the other videos. So it's not just for hot climates, it's also for winter climates, up to and including climates like the Arctic Circle and Alaska. So I don't think we have to worry about the cold temperatures excluding owners from protecting their engines with a 30-weight oil, whether it's a 5w-30 or a 0w-30 weight oil. It looks like Toyota recommends both 5w-30 and even 10w-30, depending on the climates and the temperature ranges. The only warning they give is that 10w-30 might be difficult to start in extremely cold temperatures. But when you look at it, I think you can go down to negative 20-some degrees Fahrenheit with 5w-30 and you're still okay with your crank. So I don't see that temperature anywhere in my area, and I'm in the Northeast. And so, if you're up, anywhere in the north and you have, 0 degrees, sub-0 degree temperatures, you're still okay to run the 30-weight oil as per what Toyota says. So taking a look at that, I think Toyota answers the question and approve the oil for this engine in cold climates. 5w-30 is okay, 0w-20 is okay. Depending on your driving case and the needs of your vehicle, your style, your use, you have choices as an owner with the oil you're using. It's the same engine, it's the same engineers. A thicker oil is approved for that engine in cold climates. Okay, so that answers the question. I think Toyota answers that very well, and you can see it here in the owner's manual from the Land Cruiser 300 in Russia. Okay, some other comments that came up was this concept or the idea that oil pumps, the variable oil pumps in the engines, are different by region or they're programmed differently. And I've not been able to find any evidence to support that. Okay, I looked at the part numbers, the components for the actual pumps, they're the same. I can't find anything to support the programming is different, specific to an oil viscosity by region, by country, by EPA requirements, okay? What I was able to find is that these oil pumps operate by a sensor, right? And they're using sensors to determine the oil pressures and the limits and the tolerances that it's experiencing. So this pump is smart, it's figuring out what to do, and as long as you're within the grade of oil that the engine was designed for, it should not be any issue for the oil pump to adapt and deal with the pressures that is experiencing based on the oil that is in the truck. Okay, so I don't think there's any harm in running Toyota approved oils, which 5w-30 and even 10w-30 are approved for this engine by Toyota, as long as you're running in the right temperature ranges for those oils. You shouldn't have any issue with that. And you have to think about it in the wintertime versus in the summertime. If you're running 0w-20, there's going to be a major difference in the thickness of that oil at start, or even at operating temperature, potentially, depending on how hot it is. Okay, we don't have to go. I mean, who brings their Tundra to the Toyota dealer in the summer or in the fall and says, hey, the temperature's changing, I need you to reprogram my ECU for the truck so that it can pump the oil correctly in the wintertime. And then up at summertime, before I tow, I need you to reprogram my ECU. The thing's smarter than that. It's programmed to operate within a range. Oils at different temperatures are different thicknesses and weights. And so you kind of have a lot of variability in there. And the pump is designed to handle that within the ranges. So as long as it's an approved viscosity and it's not too thick or too thin, you're fine. Okay, so I think it gives you options to do that. In my opinion, no question, you should be able to run those, and there's no issue with the oil pumps needing to be reprogrammed for a heavier weight oil, as long as it's within the range that the engine's approved for. And proof of that point with the engine oil pump the programming of the computer of the truck not needing to be reprogrammed. When GM did their TSB, switching their trucks, the 6.2 from 0w-20 to 0w-40 oil, the procedure for the dealers, the dealerships doing that switch for the owners has nothing to do. I couldn't find anything where they were going in and reprogramming the pumps or the computers for that oil weight change. That, from what I was able to find, the engineers at GM determined that the oil range tolerances were fine to support the switch. Their fix was drain it, replace the filter, fill it with the new oil at the new grade, and it's good to go. There was no requirement to program or reprogram and recalibrate the oil pumps for that oil weight change. So again, that supports even more that these pumps have the capability to adapt to the different pressures they're under, to make sure that the oil flow and protection is there for that engine as designed. Okay, so as long as you stay within the tolerances, I don't think you have to worry about the difference of what weight oil you're using. The other piece is on oil pumps. Let's say the argument that an oil pump is a different part or programmed differently and calibrated differently for a region. I think that's very unlikely. So I work for a large automotive company, large global automotive company, and we develop parts. I work with engineers who are designing parts, who are certifying parts for vehicles, and it is a lot of work. It is a long process to develop and certify parts, okay? And what that turns into is the more variations you have of a part number, the more testing, the more reiterations of that process you have to go through, which drives up costs. It's very expensive to do, to certify, to do the sampling, the testing, the calibration. It's all expensive. It all takes time and a lot of resources. So the fewer times a manufacturer has to do that, the more they're going to protect their margins and keep their costs lower. So there would be no incentive for Toyota to introduce a different pump for a different country or different calibrations for this or that. Really what it comes down to is they're very likely to have one pump and one calibration that's set up for a range of tolerances, and it's all the same. And there's no difference depending on what country or what region you're in. The only difference is going to be in the owner's manual that they are writing in and changing and limiting to only, like in the United States, 0w-20 only, where in every other country there's a list and a temperature range of approved oils that you can use. So that's an easy fix for them. There's no additional cost. It's just the print, right? As opposed to if they actually had a different pump in their North American Tundras and V35As, that would be a huge cost and a huge layer of complexity for their supply chain, for their manufacturing. Oh my goodness, this truck is shipping to Mexico. We need to have this oil pump in it and program it like this. And this one's shipping to Texas, so this one needs to be programmed. They're never going to do that. No company can do that. They would blow their cost structure up and be unprofitable and not be able to compete. So I think it's very unlikely. The evidence supports it's all the same. And the only change, the only difference is what's actually published in the manual as per the requirements of that governing body in the country that the vehicle is being sold. Okay, so bearing clearances. I saw a really cool video about the bearing clearances and how that factors in to your calculations of what oil is appropriate for what engine. And if we look at the Toyota V35A clearances, the main bearing clearances for the engine are 0.0012 to 0.0021, essentially, okay? And so if you look at that clearance, right, there's two different, there's four journals, right, and 1 and 4 are the same and 2 and 3 are the same. But when you look at that and you compare it to this chart by Driven, Driven has done, they developed their own oils, and they have a chart here that recommends, based off of your engine block material and your clearances and the temperatures, what oil should you be using in your truck, okay? Now, the chart down below is really interesting, okay? But let me show you up here first what they say here. So they say in the explanation up top, for turbocharged or supercharged engines, go up 1 viscosity grade from what is listed below, okay? For boosted engines running E85 or methanol, go up 2 viscosity grades, okay? This chart is based on naturally aspirated engines using gasoline, okay? So if you're using a turbocharged engine, which the V35A is, go up 1 grade. Our range at the 0.0012 to the 0.0021 puts us here in the aluminum block. Up from the bottom, we've got the 2 and 3, okay? So those 2 and 3, the 0.0012 to 17 and 18 to 22 range, okay? So now looking at oil temperature. The oil temperature in our trucks is generally around 200 plus degrees, 220 degrees when it's running at daily driving or on the highway, okay? It could be a little more depending on how hard it's being used, but it's generally, your 180 to 220. So we'd fall kind of in the middle category here, right? Just to be safe. And there, so you can see here, as per Driven's recommendation from the bearing clearances, we can use 0w-20 or 5w-20, 5w-30 or 10w-30. The interesting thing here now is what they state up above. If it's turbocharged, go up 1 grade, okay? So that would put us into using 5w-20, 5w-30, 10w-30, or even 10w-40, okay? That's pretty interesting, okay? So this matches up with what Toyota's manual says, that, hey, all of these are acceptable, especially if you calculate your temperature range. So I show here, this is a video of my truck running, and I'm showing the oil temperature when I'm just daily driving. It's cold out, it's winter time, but I just wanted to show the truck was just about warmed up. So it wasn't even fully warmed up, and I'm already at 183 degrees Fahrenheit with my oil temperature. So it matches this, it matches the temperature ranges we're looking at to show that, hey, 5w-30 and 5w-20 are just fine, and actually they're recommended for our engines, the way they're designed, okay? And to protect the engine for durability and protection, okay? So I think this is really good information. You can find this chart if you're interested. You can find it on their website from Driven Racing Oil, and you can look it up yourself and see, for this engine or for any other engine if you want to look at it. So the last point here is just, why would a thicker oil potentially protect an engine better than a thinner oil? And I think the answer, from what I was able to find, is that the high temperature, high shear, the HTHS rating, is what's really critical for calculating the durability and the protection of an engine, especially a high-strung engine that's turbocharged, like the V35A. And so looking at this here, what I was able to find is that, generally speaking, a 5w-30 oil is going to have 10 to 15% higher HTHS ratings than the same brand oil in a 0w-20, okay? So you're getting more wear protection under load and heat. So as you can see, 5w-30 tends to have the higher rating for the high temperature, high shear scoring on these tests, and that's going to translate into stronger film protection and a higher tolerance for the heat and against shearing out of grade under load, okay? And so as we look at, I think, a lot of these engine failures that we've seen, it seems to me that a lot of them occur when someone's driving on the interstate, which would kind of lend itself towards thinking that, the wear, there's some wear happening, or a lack of protection under load at high temperatures when the engine's running at its temp. So that's really interesting. But if we want to get the most protection, the most bearing protection against wear, it looks like the 30 weight oil, 5w-30, is going to give more protection, 10 to 15% more than the same equivalent branded oil at 0w-20. So that would again support, if you want more durability, you're not so concerned about the emissions, then that would support running the 5w-30 oil in your truck. So yeah, I think that's the evidence I found. I think it really, in my opinion, it reinforces the conclusion that a lot of us are coming to, that these trucks designed by Toyota were designed to accommodate heavier weight oil, and it's recommended and approved by Toyota. I think if we're looking at an owner who's prioritizing durability and wants to have their truck last a long time, longer than the warranty period of 60,000 miles, I think you should really look at this and consider making the switch to a more protective oil, especially considering the sensitivity this engine seems to have to oil shearing out of grade and damaging the bearings. So if you want to protect your engine, look at this information, process this, do your own calculations. But in my opinion, this is enough evidence for me to justify switching and using 5w-30 probably year-round in my truck to protect the engine and make this thing last as long as I can make it last. Okay. Again, I'm not sponsored by anybody. This is my truck. I paid for it with my own money. I maintain it with my own money. I use it for hauling my family around and towing things every once in a while and you know, hauling stuff when needed. So I want this to last. I want it to be my personal vehicle for a long time. I'm looking to run it for years and years, and I want to make sure that I take care of it as best I can. So this information is helping steer me in the direction of maintaining my vehicle maybe a little differently to make sure I give it the best chance to survive and last a long, healthy life. Okay, so hope this helps. Subscribe if you're interested in following my truck now that I'm going to be making this switch, and follow along. You can use me as a resource to watch and observe and see if it makes sense for you wherever you fall in the in your journey of maintaining your V35A engine. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Hope this helps. Until next time. See ya. Bye-bye.